have this discussion. Oh, welcome, good people. Welcome. My name is Kwame Gonza, and the channel is called Africa Reimagined. We are here with my brother Titi from the southern part of the continent, and I'm on the western part of the continent of Africa. We are coming to you with a weekly African Roundup updates. This is a new series which we are starting, and we will be coming every week, every end of week, every Sunday around this time, which is 12 p.m. In West Africa. It will be 2 p.m. in South Africa and 3 p.m. In East Africa. And then it will be, I think, definitely 12 p.m. GMT. So you can pick it up from there and then convert that time to your time zone. So it will be again 12 p.m. In West Africa, 2 p.m. in South Africa and Central Africa, places like Nigeria and others, and then it will be 3 p.m. In East Africa. So the purpose of this is for us to have a discussion on the happenings around the continent. So if you feel that you are in the northern part of the continent and you need to update the African world on what is happening on the continent, and generally also in the African world, we are not leaving out the African diaspora, because when we are talking about the African people, we are anchored in the understanding that all people of African descent are Africans and belong to the African nation, like what Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, articulated very well when he was still in Guinea Conakry. So whatever is happening to the African people around the world, that is what we want to talk about, whether they are in the United States, in Britain, in Europe, and all these countries, South America, Asia. We want to discuss the things and update ourselves, because this opportunity that has risen today has never risen before, that we are able to tell our own narrative. We are able to shape our own narrative. That is why you see people who have wanted to dominate us in the past, they are finding it very hard these days to control, to put out a single narrative, or what Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie said, or called a single story, the danger of a single story. The single story which eliminates, the achievements of the victims, or those people they want normally to dominate. So that is the purpose of this program which we started, and we will be doing this every week, like I said, every Sunday around this time. I have my brother Titi here from South Africa, as I said, from the southern part of the continent, from Azania, occupied Azania, and I'm all the way in West Africa. And we want to kick it off with you, my brother Titi. If you can give me what you have experienced during the week, freely, what is happening over there in South Africa? What are you hearing, around Zimbabwe, around Zambia, around, Azania itself, Botswana, those areas, what is happening? But that should not limit you, from talking about any other things which are happening on the continent, which you see, that they concern you, these things, because the whole continent is ours. I think it is Malema who said within this week, when he was addressing the students, and he said that the students should come up with solutions for liberating not only South Africa, but also the whole continent. So we need to be concerned about what is happening all around the continent. So please pick it up from there.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, my brother. So yeah, my name is TC, and I'm in the southern part of the continent. I usually call it the land. I'm in the southern part of the land. To those in the west, my greetings. Those in the north, my greetings. Those in the central region, my greetings, and those in East Africa, my regions. And of course, to each and every African across the globe, let me emphasize that as we do this, as we basically venture into this on a weekly basis, trying to bring the story from the ground, trying to analyze, if we will do that, when we analyze the story from the ground, like the analysis which comes from the people of the continent or from African people, and somehow we can employ analysis on a vertical level. We will be touching on a variety of issues, of course. I mean, we can go to Jamaica and talk about the bauxite mining in there. Uh, we can basically go around. We can go into Cuba. How is Cuba doing? How are the people in Cuba
Yes.
doing? And of course, as you said, looking at Azania itself. In Azania right now, recently, the ANC, African National Congress, is having their their conferences. Basically, they were having regional elections so that those regional members or regional officials can be then forwarded to the national conference. Now they're having their conferences, everything is embroidered into everything else. The former president, Thabo Mbeki, is out, guns blazing and apologizing and making statements and apologizing. We will touch on some of the statements. Botswana is Botswana is
But I don't
embroidered.
understand. Was I
Yes,
saw the news? I saw the news recently that I think about a few days ago, about 2 days ago, that he
yeah.
was attacking Ramaphosa. President Mbeki was attacking Ramaphosa. What is going on with them?
Eh, Well, Mbeki is a statesman. He always gets a mic wherever he goes, and then this time around he was at an ANC meeting gathering. So basically, addressing the ANC members, he said that the ANC is weak, is weakening. That is, I think, that's a more recent like comeback. He started by saying he made a simple analysis of the president's State of the Nation address back in February. He said that the
Mm.
president made a promise that within 100 days, 150, there would be a comprehensive plan to address the ills of society, hunger, development, and all that. So what ended up happening was that from there, it was taken to be that he was okay. I think I've got an incoming call here. Should just decline this.
Oh,
So
okay. No problem. No
yeah,
problem.
yeah.
You
So I was saying, yeah, and I just sent
okay.
to hang up on a call that was incoming. So they took it to be, and it is actually, I mean, from a statesman who's commenting about another statesman, it was more like an attack to say, oh, the former president is picking a side. Remember, there is the Palapala saga, which is basically
Mm,
anchored Southern Africa, South Africa, because I'm saying Southern Africa because it brings in Namibia.
yeah.
The president of Namibia is embroidered in a lot of questions because of the actions that were taken between the president and how they are trying to address a crime that had happened at Ramaphosa's farm. So what ultimately happens is that the media came out saying that, oh, okay, they interpreted it like purely saying that, oh, the former president is criticizing the new president. He came back, he tried to say, no, this is what I was saying, but then it keeps on getting entrenched in the fact that he has no confidence because, like I said recently, he said that the ANC is at its weakest moment right now in this leadership. I mean, well, and that can be justified, of course. I mean, the ANC does not have a secretary. They suspended their secretary, Ace Mahashule, and unfortunately, the deputy secretary, Jesse Duarte, was passed away about last week, and she was buried. And so the ANC is right now without the office of the secretary. The secretary and the deputy are not there. So, however, they're making that, they're bringing it together, it's another thing. We can look at the merits of it, but then there is no one who can be said to be wrong. Like, we cannot say that Tabombege is wrong. We cannot say that he is wrong to ask as a citizen or as a member of the ANC to say to Ramaphosa, where is the plan? Where is the promise which was made? And I think it's necessary actually to find that anyone who speaks is actually speaking for the people. You are asking questions which poke and at the comfort of those in power. We cannot let them be comfortable as well and let go of the promises they made and just keep on hoping for the best. So we do have to question them. And I think for Azania, is the ANC and the Palapala saga, which are in the mainstream. Well, of course, the mainstream there is like a rise in crime for some reason. There are shootings at taverns. There are rapes, and it is said that there were 67 men from Lesotho who were arrested also for raping, allegedly raping, if I have to use the word, um, 8 women. So 8 women were raped at an abandoned mine, and 67 men have been arrested. And that is just the spike in crime that we've seen ever since the first shooting down in the Eastern Cape at a tavern. And out of South Africa,
In South Africa, you guys have a lot of guns too, and I find it. I've thought about this, going aside from what Mbeki was saying. I watched him, I think, on Anchor, and they were interviewing him yesterday. I think it was live actually at their studio, and they were saying that. He was saying that the organization is corrupted ever since it was formed in 1994. The quality of members who have been coming into the organization, so something like that. But I think that maybe there is some sort of power struggle going on within the organization itself, and then it is crumbling. It has not been, as an organization, has not been able to deliver on the promises. The country, it has not been able to bring the goods to the African people, the majority of the people. And on the other side, I see that it is fearful of taking the land. It is fearful of taking back the land because of the whites, what the whites might say, especially the whites from, the around the world. Of course, the West. When we are talking about the whites, we are talking about the West, the backlash which will come. But at the same time, so I see ANC as an organization or a party right now which is caught, between, because it wants to deliver to the people, but at the same time the neo-colonialists are on the other side, so they are caught between there, and how to navigate that is becoming. And then on the third note, they have their own self-interest that people have to be stealing and and pulling here and there. So you see that they would rather take for themselves than care for these two interests of the people and then the imperialists. But they would rather stay again with the imperialists because they are taking something from the imperialists. So you can see that at the end of the day, our people are the ones who are suffering. What I wanted to talk about also is that in South Africa, I find it disturbing that there is a lot of crime and a lot of killing and a lot of guns. But again, on one side, I'm not surprised, because everywhere where the white people have gone, you see that there's a lot of crime. Where white people have lodged in areas, in countries where white people went and lodged, you see there's a lot of crime. You can see what is happening in the United States. In states like Detroit, Chicago, a lot of killing, a lot of violence. So all areas where white people went and lodged themselves there, and they settled themselves there, and they have refused to go out of those places. You see that there's a lot of crime. Brazil, so a lot of crime. So you see that I think this problem, I think it is Dr. Joyce who there's an African American or an African professor who studied these effects, the psychological effect of slavery and violence which was inflicted upon the Africans, that it has gone on even up to date. That you look at places even like Jamaica, okay, that where the white man came and colonized the people, he left there the psychological effects of his violence.
yes, of course, yes, of course. You see, and there is also this phenomena. I think it's Dr. Lushaba, Dr. Lazuli Shwaba. He's a anthropologist in South Africa. He says we've got two colonies, if you can look at it on a broad context, because right now I am trying to weigh my lived experience. I don't know about the amount of guns that are in South Africa as compared to any African country. I mean, you can read on TV about crime here and there, but as for the amount of guns and how surprising it is to my brothers and sisters on the continent, it's another thing. But then Lwazili Shaba says there are two colonies. There are settlement colonies. This is South Africa. This is Zimbabwe. This is where the colonials actually wanted to settle, and they came there in their numbers. They reached 500,000. They went on to be 1,000,000. All those are settlement colonies. They bring a specific dichotomy to the whole thing, such that they imprint a system of some sort of lawlessness. Remember that they were invading. They were invading. They had to bring guns. They had to bring weapons. They had to stabilize. Right? Those vestiges are still there. And then there are colonies. No, let me talk to the colonies, the second colony, the colony of the economic colonies, where it was only commercial. They did not come to settle. They came for the colony. Even when it was time for independence, it was simple. There were no people there to repatriate. You could have just simply give them the independence, and then you know that your people are safe. But then for you see what happens with settlement colonies. We'll get to the issue of the land, I guess, because I'll touch on the issue of the land in South Africa, and then I guess we should take it to Zimbabwe.
Yeah, I think when you spoke about the we don't want to dwell on South Africa alone because we have a lot of other places which we want to touch. But I think the violence is economic violence, is the system of capitalism itself that it has alienated most of the people from the fruits of the land, that the African people. So you find that they are fighting for the small which has been left for them. You see that the few people, they take majority of the cake of the country, and the majority remain with a very small amount, like what we are talking about, the income inequality, that has been happening all around the world, actually all around the globe. So you see, like in areas like Chicago, poverty is paramount. Poverty is skyrocketing, and there's a lot of people. So whatever has remained that is small, then the people have to fight for the small, which is there. On the other side of the continent, in East Africa, one thing that I noticed was that Museveni in Uganda was orienting the people who are being sent to the East African Community Parliaments. As you know, recently the East African Community admitted DRC into the East African Community. Now, the East African Community contains a number of countries that I don't know whether they have reached 7, because let me see. You have Uganda, you have Kenya, you have Tanzania, you have Rwanda, you have Burundi, you have South Sudan. Now you have DRC. Now there are 7. And also on the other side, Somalia also is asking to be admitted into the East African Community. So that would make the countries 8. But the good thing about the East African Community, which I'm seeing, is that as the DRC was admitted into the East African Community, they took the initiative of forming an East African military force to try to settle the conflict that has been in the Congo for the last 60 years, ever since the imperialists killed Patrice Lumumba, the first prime minister of the Congo. So they have committed themselves to forming a military that is going to go into the Congo to be able to solve that problem. Uganda had already sent a military force into the Congo, which is working with the DRC military. The DRC military is the one which invited Uganda in, and they are already working in there to flush out the rebels. They said there is more than, I think, more than 30 rebel groups, especially in the eastern part of the country. That is where the majority of the mineral resources are. So you see that the foreigners have been coming there and causing a lot of chaos, divide and conquer. When they divide you, they create chaos, and then they will be taking the resources. And on the other side also, you see that there's people in the Congo, in the Congolese citizens, they came up against the United Nations actually a few days ago. I think it was on Wednesday, and they are accusing the United Nations for being the exploiter of the country, for aiding the exploitation of the resources. So they came up and attacked the United Nations, and the United Nations security started even shooting, people. I think about 20 people died. Oh yeah, 20 people also died in this chaos. So, but the people, I think the people have realized what the problem is in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So that is what is going on there. So Museveni was orienting the MPs who have been elected into the East African Legislative Assembly, or the Parliament, East African Parliament, East African Community Parliament, which is based in Arusha. And so they invited also Pierre Lumumba to be a speaker, to give a speech at that in Kampala. It was in Kampala at, I think it is called the Speaker Resort Hotel in Munyonyo in Kampala. So Pierre Lumumba gave a speech there, a very, very powerful speech. That speech, I'll be uploading it on this YouTube channel so other people can look at it. He was making his submission to Museveni, pleading with Museveni that Museveni should make sure that by the time he leaves, the East Africa is federated as a community into one government with one currency. So that was his plea. But the good thing about the East African community, which I'm seeing, is that now the East African community, you can see that it crosses all the way from the Indian Ocean now, and then it reaches the Atlantic Ocean, because the Democratic Republic of Congo touches all the way into the Atlantic Ocean. So now it has legend that it crosses all the continent all the way from the east or to the central part, whereby we have the Atlantic Ocean. So that's what happened in the eastern part of the continent. And on the other side, we also had the foreign minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Russia, Sergei Lavrov. He traveled all across the continent from Russia, and he visited about 4 countries. He visited Egypt, and from Egypt he went to Congo Brazzaville. Congo Brazzaville is different from the Democratic Republic of Congo. So he went to Congo Brazzaville and visited there. From there he went to Uganda, and we saw a lot of solidarity with Russia, in these countries when he went there. For example, in Egypt, when he went there, the Egyptian foreign minister said that the West was actually telling them that they should not take pictures, even with Sergei Lavrov, the Russian, foreign minister, or any Russian delegates, you see. So this news came out there. So he went to Congo Brazzaville. There was a lot of solidarity. Even the foreign minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs in Congo, also said that for them they will not back with they will not howl with the what he called foxes. They will not howl with the foxes. That they will not sing the same song with the foxes what they are saying. So he had a lot of solidarity there also when he went there. Then he went to Uganda. He met Museveni also. Museveni also said no one will tell him what to do, which friends Africa should have, and stuff like that. So he said he'll continue to work with Russia because there is some good things. As we know, Uganda also has a lot of relations with Russia. Russia sold Uganda about, I think, 4 Su-30s, which are fighter jets. About 30 of them, and Uganda gets a lot of some of the military equipments. Russia also, Russian companies, the one which discovered the 12 trillion gold in Uganda also. So Uganda, it is no surprise that it's working a lot with Russia, because they have a lot of investments they are involved in together. So from there he went to Ethiopia. Sergei Lavrov went to Ethiopia also. And also in Ethiopia, Ethiopia also is one of those countries which voted against the expulsion of Russia from the Security Council. You know, a lot of African countries have started coming to their senses, if I may use the word, that they have decided to stand on their own and sort of go away from the narrative of the West that has been holding the Africans captive and sort of like junior partners to the West. And this has been happening, you know, for the last 600. And the West has gone on with this mentality of thinking that Africans are supposed to pander to its narrative. They are supposed to go on and follow its narrative. Whatever the West says, Africa should follow. But it is looking like things are changing, and it could be true what other people have been saying, that we are facing a new changing world order, that is a new world order that is being birthed today that is similar to what happened in 1945. On the other side, we had also Macron. He came in, you know, in a rush. Also, he's trying to counter what I think Sagni.
All right, I think you have actually, the network has somewhat cut you off.
I can hear you.
But
I
as
can
you
hear
come
you.
back, oh,
I can hear you. Yes. So,
yeah.
on the other side, we have Macron, the French president.
Yeah.
Macron.
I thought let's touch on the East African community and the happenings in Uganda and Congo before we jump to Macron. And I will try not to touch on the Russian side so that we can bring them both together and look at the tag that is happening. But on a more localized issue, I am not excited. I hope the people who are close to the East African community are very excited about the East African community. I am not very excited about the East African community. We've been here before. This has happened. I was in a conversation with a brother from Uganda yesterday, and you see, the colonialism came and broke apart 6,000 nationalities on the continent. That was, they divided the 6,000 nationalities. The Zulus were made to ignore the war that was happening with the Xhosas, and then the Ashanti were not really paying attention to what was happening to the Igbos, and then we ended up being divided as 6,000 nations. And then the consolidation was 54 countries. And those 54 countries are not working for us. Right now, we need to watch against the fact that why is the continent being consolidated? I hope it is being consolidated by Africans for Africa. Because otherwise, we've been here before. We've walked the space of saying that 4 countries can be clustered together. But for whose benefit? For whose benefit? Because let's look at this closely. In the case of Uganda, or maybe looking at it together with Congo, because MONUSCO, as you are saying, that tragic accident, I think the UN Secretary General and Guterres, he called it a war crime. I just did not pay attention to who committed the war crime. Was it the people who were having an anti-UN march? Like, there is something called an anti-UN march. So just the terminology there should make us question some of the happenings. And well, for instance, today we saw on a video what was happening in a UN car. And we will not talk about it. We'll be family friendly. But we've seen what the UN does in everywhere. We've seen an accident. There was an accident with a UN vehicle, and it turned out that they had gold in the UN vehicle. So these are because you see, when the East African community comes together, the first thing they should do.
Titi, your video has gone off. I would like you to go out and come back in. I would like you to go out and come back in so that your video can, our viewers would like to see you. We can hear you, but only the video is what we cannot see. Yeah, so that we can continue from what you were saying there from the Congo issue. Yes, Titi, my brother Titi was talking about. Okay, thank you. Okay, please, you can continue. We are
All right.
okay now.
Yes, I was saying that what the East African Community military that they are hoping for should basically be able to do first and foremost, remove foreign militaries from the land. Unless we can do that, we are not a community of anything. The East African community should go and say that we are equipped, we are ready to solve our problems. We have
I totally
indigenized
agree.
our army, and then MONUSCO's the mission can come to an end, and then we can take care. I was saying that crime, any country can solve their own crime. If the country cannot, then the East African community will try it. Because what happened with Uganda, for instance,
And we
Uganda
can
has
do
a
this. We can
yeah,
afford to do these things actually,
we
because
can.
look at the United Nations. What you are saying, the United Nations has been in the Congo for the last 60 years. Because remember, Congo came to, the United Nations came to the Congo in 1960. 1960.
Yes.
1960. This is more than 60 years, for Christ's sake. And nothing
Yeah.
has been done to, to stop the groups, the rebel groups which are in the Eastern DRC Congo. And they are telling us they are
Yeah.
still doing that. I think the Congolese citizens are right to be upset.
Yes. The thing is that we need to really ask ourselves, what is MONUSCO doing? Is MONUSCO there for peace or for protection of assets? Because it happens that they are not there when it's a peacekeeping mission, but peacekeeping in what way? And who produces the rebels that we have? You see, the next thing, the village in that was in an anti-UN demonstration is going to be called a rebel village.
Yes,
So
yes.
we need to pay attention to the finer points of exactly what is happening. The UN has been there for too long. In any military, even the US, after 20 years, they gave up and just left. Like, maybe they can just leave, but they cannot leave because the resources of the Congo are still feeding the world. Somehow, Congo is destabilized. Congo is not working. The people in Congo are suffering, but the resources of the Congo still find a way out of the country. So it does not serve the international community to say they should solve a
I
problem
can
in
hear
Congo.
you.
There is no problem in Congo. According to that, they are still feeding off the Congo. There is no problem in Congo. As Dr. Arikana said that there are tarmacs all over the Congo. There are runways all over the Congo. Planes landing and lifting up in the middle of the night. And then coming back to the issue of Uganda and their participation in the East African community, and there is also the fact that they are harboring a AFRICOM. What is it? I think it's a barrack, or is it a barrack, or is it a mission? But then there is an African command, AFRICOM.
I think, yeah, I think it is a military base. Uganda is one of the countries, one of the majority of the countries on the African continent,
Yeah,
which
you see,
have military partnerships.
when we
They,
look
they
at
normally invite the United States to conduct military drills with the United States and trainings with the United States. So this happens like on annual basis. Countries like South Africa, Ghana, all these countries, they have these cooperations with the United States military.
it should
And
not be
then
happening. Is my
and then there is yes,
submission.
and then there
Like, I mean,
is
like,
others that have military bases.
over and above the analysis that we can make and how essential it is, then can we say that Congo is equipped to go into, Uganda is equipped to go and try and solve the problems in Congo if Uganda itself needs AFRICOM to come into Uganda? We cannot. When we're looking at the facts, when we're looking at the direct relations, why are we pandering to the UN? To the US. The US is in Uganda, is in South Africa. Whatever trainings they are doing, they are in Somalia, they are in Djibouti. I think in Djibouti they've got the Camp Let Monia or something like that. So they are everywhere. And trust me, please, I hope everyone listens to this. They are not there for anything African. It is explicit that they are there for US interests. And you cannot
Absolutely.
take US
Absolutely.
interests away from the US people. The
Absolutely.
US military machine understands like what it means to like have your interest. That is what their ambassadors do. Like you said, the ambassadors were saying that okay, meet them but don't take pictures with them. Their ambassadors are always whispering to power. They're always getting their military in strategic positions, like which is what AFRICOM is: strategic positions, so that when shit hits the fan, the US will be close to the problem. If ever you were to actually be Congo, the people in Congo were actually successful in chasing each and every soldier of MONUSCO out of the country. The US is close by to fill that gap. The US will tell you that there is instability. Well, we saw how they went into Libya. So at the end of the day,
Yes.
we need to, as the East African community, I am not really a disciple of it, and but then I hope, I always have this hope and wish that it is for the good of the people, because you said in 60 years the UN has not showed any results, but the UN is still there. In well, the AU is older than the EU, but in all their years, the AU does not have any results. Now, we then need to ask, why was the AU formed and for whose benefit? Because,
Mm.
well, if they continue to exist, it means they are carrying out their mission. It's every entity's prerogative to carry out the mission, meet
Yeah.
the objective.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. When we are talking about the presence of foreign military bases, they have never been, for the interest of the Africans. The foreign military bases, even Nkrumah warned about this, in his book. The bad thing which we have, the challenge, okay, the problem which we have is that our African leaders do not respect history. But Nkrumah warned about these things. The things which are happening now, Nkrumah wrote about these things long time ago. He wrote about the danger of allowing military bases on African soil, foreign military bases on African soil. So if you can see the number of military bases on the continent, it is tragic. It is tragic to have these military bases. From like this map, just this map which I pulled out, it shows that, like you have mentioned, that the United States has military cooperations with Uganda, it has with Kenya, it has with Botswana. All these are foreign military bases. Ghana, you see, and then France is all over the continent. So it is unfortunate. So then the United Nations has, as a tool which has historically been used for the interests of the Western world, as we see in 1960. They played against Nkrumah, and they defeated him in the Congo when he was trying to save the Congo, because Nkrumah was the first African leader to try to save the Congo and preserve Congo's independence after Congo had gotten independence. In 6 months, the prime minister Lumumba was killed. But who was at the center of this betrayal? At the center of this betrayal was the United Nations. It was the United Nations at the center. So I solidly agree with you that
Can you
if
also please throw
East
in the
African,
fact that no, I need you to actually add to that with the fact that somehow Doug, who was the UN Secretary General, was killed at the time. He was in the
yes,
Congo. Please throw that
yes,
in. I just want us to bring to
yes.
the fore the fact
I
that capital doesn't play.
I think that man was a very good man who wanted to also to preserve the independence. I remember he was is Doug Howard or something. I've forgotten his name. Hamisfield or Doug Hamisfield or something. I've forgotten his name very well. But he is someone who believed in Africa's independence. So this also goes to show us that there is some individual white people who want to see that Africa is independent, acts independently. But then on the other side, we also have these people again being in the minority in the imperialistic camp, that to the extent that the majority of the people in the Western camp or the imperialistic camp always get their way. Like the United States has always found a way of using the United Nations. And you can see that in the 1960s, they used it together with Belgium and the United Kingdom and all Europe. They used this organization because they formed it. And they were the ones originally on the Security Council. It is only these days that China and Russia are on the Security Council, and they are able to veto some of the resolutions that the world can be saved from some of the catastrophic policies of imperialism. But in those days, there's no way. Even today, still they find a way of using the United Nations. So you see that countries like China, who also have interests in the Congo, you see that they will not say anything if the United Nations is there to, carrying out interests of the imperialists, because China also needs access to these resources. We are talking about cobalt for making batteries, for phones, batteries now for electric cars, which are taking over. So all these become a problem. But if the East African community has come in to try to act on behalf of the Africans, that is a good thing, which I would welcome. But the question is, will they do it? Will they be courageous enough to do what they are saying that they are going to do in the Democratic Republic of Congo? Because we all believe that if the East African community is left, or the Africans are left to act on their own, they will be able to solve some of these problems, or they will completely solve these problems which are on the continent. And we don't see why a country like France or Europe or the United States with an aging population says that is coming to protect Africa with the youngest population. So if we have the youngest population in the world, you see, 70% of our people are below the age of 35. How can you say that you have an aging population and you are coming to protect the Africans who have the youngest population? So logically, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. And that is where I see that we as Africans, as African civil society and Pan-Africans, or coalition of organizations of Pan-Africanists, we have to increase our pressure in support of those presidents who we see that are progressive on the continent and are trying to act in the interest, in the interest of the African people, and increase our support and work with them, in increasing the pressure, and then media platforms like these ones, because the information space now has been democratized. So we need to come out there and speak out, not keeping quiet. Young people have to be involved, in politics. They have, the love for the continent is what people sometimes term as Pan-Africanism. But I think that we need to remove this stigma, how we have stigmatized the politics, and say that politics, we need to rebrand this and say the love for our continent, okay, so that we can fully be involved in the affairs of the continent itself, and say we are going to fight for our continent. Politics aside, we love our continent, and we are going to speak out, and we are going to be involved. We are going to support those leaders who are progressive and acting in the interest of our continent. So every step that is taken in the interest of our continent, I think we need to go out there and support it. And I think that what the East African community is doing, we need to keep our eye on it and see what they are doing. But if we see that they are moving in the right direction, I think we need to support them. If we see that they are moving in the wrong direction, we still need to speak out that we will not allow ourselves to dine with imperialism. We are done with imperialism, and we don't want to, to be subordinates anymore, to imperialism and white people, and most of them who we are even smarter than, we are more intelligent than, to come around and boss us around and tell us what to do. So, my brother, that is how I look at it, the issue of the Congo and the issue of the East African community.
Yeah, you see, PLO once said, in some African countries, there is no peace, there is just silence.
Yes.
Yeah, something to that extent. You see, we need to understand from Nkrumah's writing that imperialism today is not going to come as imperialism. It will come as something else. take it, for instance, from this perspective. Ethiopia was able to vote their conscience. They voted the way they wanted because they were under attack. They were not buying peace. They were not under threat of attack. They were under attack. Then they can vote. I think when I looked at that map, most of Africa was blacked out for abstaining because they couldn't. So I guess then we can then also jumping into the next segment where we can look at the tag, because when you talk about the age, let's look at what are the presidents doing when it comes to the youth. What are they doing when it comes to the youth? And there is no one who should be very far. You should not be very far from a president you want to praise. There is always somebody close enough. There must be somebody who's objective and close enough to tell the truth. But right now, everyone who's close to the president is not saying anything because they cannot defend their saying. So now they will want to say that let's cast out a net. Let's cast out a net. Let's get an army which is going to defend the indefensible because they are very far from it. We need those who are close to power. I mean, the leaders that we have, there is we spoke about this last week, patronage and leadership from a leadership, like leadership of power. Leadership of power says that we do not need any president who's above 50. We don't need a president who's above 60. We don't. But we do need leaders who are above 60 and above 80.
Yes.
We need those leaders. We need them to be telling those who are in office at the time, this is how you run a country. This is what you encounter. This is what really happens. Who told African countries to abstain? You see, just as they were told do not take pictures, they were told to abstain. They could have voted the way they wanted. They could have voted their conscience, but they were told to abstain. And then now let's dive. I don't want to know if you want to start it. You've already started it. I think you can continue it. How Sergey is going around. I think Blinken is also going around. Macron is going around. It's a tag. I see it as a tag. We are all aware of the scramble. The scramble, we call it a scramble, but it was an internal matter. It was a European matter. It was a matter which was being done between Europeans. That's why they could even negotiate. But right now there's a tag going on. Are we going to go to the west or are we going to go to the east? They are coming with what pleases, they're offering. And trust me, diplomats always offer something. They will offer something. I mean, I cannot go as far as to say that you can be offered not to be killed, but then we know that assassinations have happened before. So you can be offered your life. We know that. I think it was Biden who called the former president of Ukraine. Who's that? Called the former president of Ukraine and told them that, you need to do this because security is something that we cannot really guarantee. You see, whenever diplomats talk about security, we need to be paying attention. So right now, the tag that is going on is whether who is going to entice us and with what. The thing is that, yes.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing is that I think we need to put history itself in context. Let us look at Russia. Let us be honest and look at Russia. What have been majorly the interests of Russia on the African continent, starting from the 1940s when it came here? You can see that I'm not saying Russia is a saint, is an angel, but on the whole, Russia has been helpful. It helped Africa in fighting against colonialism. If there is any countries which helped Africa, it was Russia and China who helped Africa in fighting against this imperialism. And for a very long time, Africans actually fought alone. But Africans, on the other hand, they inspired the world into fighting, for freedom. We can go back, for those who don't understand what I'm talking about, we can go back as far as 1791 in Haiti. It is after 1791 when Africans in Haiti fought and defeated France, Spain, and Britain that the world started waking up. Okay, so when Haiti defeated these imperialist powers, the United States then also went ahead and got its independence from Britain. And then when they went ahead to, to come up with colonialism, Africans continued to fight. Honorable Marcus Garvey, they continued to struggle. And all these guys, the Gandhis and a lot of them, the guy Ho Chi Minh, they got inspiration from what Garvey was doing, and they went ahead in India and started fighting. So what am I saying? What I'm trying to say is that Russia, to a large extent, helped Africa to be able to fight against this Western domination. And what I see Russia is offering is that Russia is trying to come back as a superpower, and so it sees that the only way to come back to superpowerdom, or there's no way it can come back to superpowerdom without recognizing the presence of Africa as an emerging economic, territory, because everyone is putting their eyes on Africa, and so that is the interest. That I see with Russia. They see that if they help Africa, overcome this Western domination, they will have defeated their enemy, who is the West, who is disturbing them, a lot. And then in turn, they will have achieved a trading partner. They would have gotten themselves a trading partner. Because I remember a few weeks ago, Putin made some statements in Moscow. They asked him about trading partners around the world and stuff like that. And they these news anchors, the journalists, and he told them, it is a lady who asked him about China, about trading with Brazil, trading with South America, trading with India, if the West is putting up sanctions and stuff like that. So Putin said that that those are not the only trading patterns. There's Africa too. That Africa is a giant. You are seeing that is a sleeping giant. He's there, but he's waking up. So he told them that Africa is waking up. People don't regard Africa, but Africa is waking up. There is 1.4 billion people on that continent. I don't think that they are going to sleep forever. Those people are waking up. So these are all trading patterns. So I think that, let me add a little bit. So I think that is from those comments. It is when Putin decided to send Lavrov to Africa, to go through Egypt, to go through Congo, Brazzaville, go to Uganda, go to Ethiopia, because these are really economies which have been doing well, especially Ethiopia for the last 5 years has been the fastest growing economy on the African continent. Ethiopia has been growing between 8 and 10% on GDP, if you are talking about percentage on GDP. On the other hand, the West, what I see is that it has nothing to offer. When you see Macron, when he went around the continent, what was he talking about? Macron was saying that he's going to offer us security, that they are resetting their relationship with Africa. So their relationship with Africa, when he was in Cameroon, actually, they said that he will go to Cameroon and go to Benin also, but he was not able to go to Benin. So his coming was sort of like a scramble, somebody who's scrambling because they think that somebody is taking over their territories. So he ran all the way to Cameroon. I don't know whether he wanted to show, to stop Lavrov from going to the western part of the continent, okay, from going to places like Senegal, going to Ivory Coast. I think that was the tactic. So when he came to Cameroon, with this leader whom they are propping out, Paul Biya, the president of Cameroon, an old man over 80 years, he cannot even walk. They are just holding him for him to be able to stand. So he was there and he was even insulting Africans. Macron was in Cameroon insulting Africans. He was saying that Africans are hypocrites. That why are they not standing with the West? You see, why are they not standing with the West in condemning Ukraine? So that comment, I looked at it as funny when I heard it and I saw Macron making these comments, and then in turn saying that he's going to give Africa security. They are going to give Africa security. So what I'm saying is that for them, the Western world still looks at Africa as a receiver, someone who needs help, you know, they still have that colonial mentality, that savior mentality, that they are coming here to save us. And which mentality the Africans, especially the young generation, have already thrown off. And we have already realized how hypocritical these people have been. But for them, they have not realized it. So that's where I see them losing. They are losing to China, they are losing to Russia, and they are losing to the African people themselves.
And for them,
The conscious African people. So I see that things like blocking RT news of Russia from broadcasting around Africa so that it can give Russia, it can give Africans the perspective of Russia. All those ones are futile efforts. You know, that Africans have now reached a level whereby they can digest and you know, they can get news for themselves and digest out and filter out, you know, what is good for them and what is not good for them. So that is what I see when I compare the two. And now we have Blinken, who's coming from Cambodia also. He says that Blinken is coming to South Africa, actually, is coming to the south, to Azania, to occupy Azania. He will go to DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, and then he will go to Rwanda also. So they are fighting all over the continent, but it is their policies. Because for us, nothing, it is not words, you know, like we can't feed on words forever. We need infrastructure. We need the continent to develop rapidly, and you cannot continue to feed us on words, human rights. We know human rights. We know about human rights because you are the ones who have been violating our human rights. So I think it is ironic, it is unfortunate that these guys are going in this way, and it is no secret. It is no. I'm not surprised that they are declining. I'm not surprised that the West is declining.
Yes. Well, let me start with this. There's a poem that I once read by a black South African in the 70s. Who wants to be mothered? Who wants to be mothered? This is to the relationship perspective. Before any real relationship, the relationship perspective of the West as compared to the relationship perspective of the East. You see, I want to categorize this without any proofing thereof. But then you look at the West. The West comes to negotiate for exploitation. And by the way, we need to know that the US is our bigger brother colonial-wise. They were the first colony. So they are just basically a little bit 400 years ahead of us as colonies. And so when the West, the imperial order, basically, from when Haiti fought against imperialism, European imperialism, if we can be specific. And now we need to bring it all back to saying that ever since then, what has happened? The West comes to exploit, or to negotiate for exploitation, negotiating with what you deem to be stupid people, and then you can always exploit them. And then there is China. China has about 8 mines, cobalt mines, in the peninsula of Congo. That area is basically Chinese. It's controlled by China. All those mines and whatever army they have guarding them. So China comes with a clever tactic. They want to be clever. They want to in the same way that Vendetta ended up getting the Konkola mine in Zambia. They just want to come next to India there. They want to come and just find a way and exploit it. Just be clever about it. And once again, who wins against that? Who wins against that? If they find that they're negotiating with stupid people or they're finding uninformed leaders, then they're going to act out that. And then there's Putin. Putin is a man. I take sides. I take sides. Of course, we are not going to say Russia is a saint, but
no,
Putin is a man who actually have discussions with other leaders. He does not look to exploit. He makes proposals which are for the mutual benefits. He's not there to make billionaires. He is there to negotiate for something with another man. He's not looking to exploit the situation. No, he wants to
let's have a man-to-man discussion and what we call win. Okay, of course, definitely they always win. They win more.
Yeah,
but
the person.
let's have a man-to-man discussion.
a man-to-man discussion was Nkrumah. I think he was the only person who actually had a man-to-man discussion. And for him,
Yes.
it was better because he had a broader spectrum. He was not only focusing on Ghana. He negotiated with Africa in his mind. It did not really matter whether it was the East or the West he was negotiating with. He writes, neither West nor East. We look forward as Africans. So he was not giving the West any benefits. He was not giving the East any benefits. You negotiate and then you take the better deal. You might be killed in the process, as he was, but then we need to actually have leaders who are at that caliber of saying that
Yeah,
they are going to negotiate. And yes, of course, we cannot have leaders negotiating for countries. We cannot have leaders negotiating for countries. We negotiate for the continent. We negotiate for as much of the land as possible. We don't negotiate for our own pathway to the ocean. We don't negotiate that we are the ones who get better aid. And that's another problem. The US actually comes and negotiates with aid. That is what really you have to look at the US and look at the evil nature thereof, because you are coming and dangling aid as a negotiating.
Then also the what they have been saying that his aid is not really aid. It is Africa giving aid. Actually, I was listening to one of the interviews of Akon, which I have on this channel. I've posted it on this channel. Akon did that interview and said Africa is not really is not the one which is receiving aid. It is the West which is receiving aid from Africa. So aid, which we are what we are saying is aid, is bribes which are given to certain groups of people on the continent. And they say that it's aid that has been given to the majority of the people, of the African people. It is not aid, it is bribes. It is bribes that are given to specific groups in the continent, and these groups will allow them to extract profit out of the continent. Because Africa is losing, according to the UN report in 2020, which came out I think around September or August. Africa is losing more than 100 billion. I know Thabo Mbeki came up with his report, but his report actually was an understatement, which he said Africa was losing around 38 billion. But a new report which came out, put that figure. That figure is at around $100 billion every year. 100. That was a UN report. But conservative Pan-Africanists have put that figure to around $200 billion every year. The UN says 100 billion. The Thabo Mbeki report said we are losing around $38 billion every year. But some Pan-Africans have said that we are losing more than $200 billion. And unfortunately, when you look around, what they said also is that Africa's infrastructure deficit is around $200 billion every year. For us to be able to catch up to the rest of the world, we need $200 billion every year. So you see that the West is taking out resources from Africa, which are supposed to build our infrastructure, hospitals, schools, roads, railways, airports, agriculture, industries, and all this. These guys are taking that money from us, and they are saying that they are giving us aid. And surprisingly, what was discovered also is that this money, when they tracked it, it is ending up in countries like the United States, London. Those were the major culprits: London and the United States, Brussels and Paris. That's where our money is going.
Yeah,
that is according to that UN report.
Yeah, so it's not even aid. Then we need to talk about the disingenuous nature of the US and the West in all, because right now, substantively, it is Africa that is giving. But when they come back with those crumbs, with those bribes, they actually use them to negotiate more exploitation. So
yes,
we cannot have at the end of the day, you'd consider saying that let's stop negotiating with these people. They do not have our interest at heart. Whenever they come here, they come to exploit. Let's stop negotiating with them. Let's stop talking to them, because otherwise, and remember, the things that our leaders do in secret are illegal. When we allow our leaders to have secret deals and negotiations, when they meet with the ambassadors, when they meet with the secretaries, and they don't tell us what they did. They don't show us the substantive documents that were on the table. That is illegal, but it is happening, and we've allowed it to happen. We allow it to happen, but
I think it is also because of the the way they are using fear, because they are using a mixture of tools. They are mixing the tools together. What Nkrumah said, that they try to bribe us with fictitious gifts. You see, they bribe you, and if you fail, then they use intimidation. You see, when they use intimidation, then if you fail intimidation, then they will come and take you out by force, and they will make a coup in your country and take you out. If you cannot be taken out that way, they have to kill you outright. Violence. And that is why we see that they have all these military bases around the continent, like what we were showing, that these people, they have military bases all over our continent. What are these military bases for? These military bases are for intimidating some of the leaders into submission. That is the purpose of these military bases. They want to intimidate the leaders and say, if you don't do this, we will come and attack you. If you don't do this, we have the military base here. They are all over the Indian Ocean. In one of the speeches which Museveni was giving, he was talking about the presence of the United States in the Indian Ocean, the presence of the United States in the Atlantic Ocean, all here in the Gulf of Guinea. You see, so the Gulf of Guinea, the United States is present here. But what are we doing as Africans? Because he was talking about the four, the dimensions, the four dimensions of security: the land, sea, air, and space. That they are watching us from space, and they are present in our oceans illegally. Even they don't pay, they don't pay dues for occupying our oceans, because I think according to the United Nations, the territory, the territorial waters, is supposed to be 200 miles. Once you cross it, you're supposed to pay dues to a country, if you are occupying those spaces. So they are occupying and they are not paying taxes, they are not paying dues. So all these are tactics for the intimidation. But I'm not ruling out that majority of our leaders have accepted to be bribed, because, as you know, majority of them would prefer to live in luxury than to die. So they would take the bribes and say, what the hell? Why should I suffer? And go out there.
Remember, we discussed this, that by the time we get to choose a leader, they were all chosen. By the time we get to decide on which one, all of them were presented to us by the West. You either get this one or that one, because they killed the other one. The one that we would have voted for was killed, was smeared, was allegations. There are allegations right now in Zim for the 8-year-old. There are rape allegations around President Mnangagwa, and this comes after. This is coming after the fact that Mnangagwa is actually building without the loans that are prerequisite for building.
Yes.
He's basically doing what he was doing. He's building, and now there are people, there are puppets, there are agents who are actually accusing. They are accusing of.
Is that the MDC guy? Is that the MDC?
Yeah, they bring terms which are fancy. Now they were accusing the country of spending short-term money for long-term projects. Like all these things. No, he built something which belongs to the country. Now,
so they think
it actually comes from the people.
They think that Zimbabwe is showing an example that you can survive even with the sanctions. You can survive. Yes. You can find ways of surviving. So Zimbabwe is showing an example that you can live with the West. It's the same thing which President Magufuli was showing. President Magufuli in Tanzania, before they killed him, he was showing that you can live with the West. You can live without the West. You can live as Africans without the West. You can live on your own resources. And President Magufuli, actually, he pointed out the problem. President Magufuli, the problem he pointed out was that our resources, they are stealing them. And it is the West which is stealing our resources. If we block them from stealing the resources, we will be able to build our countries. Yes. So this is what they didn't want other countries to see. You see, yes, we can live without the World Health Organization. The terms and conditions that are being dictated to us by the World Health Organization, We do not need them. We do not need the white people to come and dictate to us what to do and tell us what to do. We can find our own solutions. They hated this. They thought that
Yes.
President Magufuli is showing other Africans what to do to be independent. They don't want Africa to be independent because then there will not be a gap for them to continue the exploitation.
When they did not find anything to paint Magufuli with, well, they tried, of course. He was a tyrant, all these. When that did not work, he had to be taken out. I mean, right now, you see the allegations that are coming against Mnangagwa. They are very timeless. They are very, they're very deliberate, if I can say that, because now you find there's actually two. I've seen two articles now. I've seen two women. One, I think she's a Zimbabwean Australian. Somehow, she's making an allegations. Another is a minister who, I don't know, she's actually refusing that the president raped her. She's just refusing that the president raped her. But remember, the psyche of people is that now President Mnangagwa is surrounded by rape allegations.
Can you imagine? But I think they will not win. I think ZANU PF has really been through this struggle for a very long time. They cannot win this propaganda war. Just like the propaganda war, which was started on Ethiopia, and Ethiopia was still able to come out strong and defeated them. I think they will not be able to, to win. I just wanted to pick your mind on what you think about Macron and his saying that he's coming to offer security. In one of the articles which was published, Macron emphasized security during his visit to Benin, because after Cameroon he went and visited Benin, and he says he's going to offer security in the Sahel. But this is also after us understanding that Macron and France and all the imperialist powers, NATO, they were the ones who opened up the Sahel to that chaos after the overthrow of Libya. So what do you think when the same person turns around and says he's coming to offer security to Africa? And the fact that the Malians, the people in Mali, were able to push out France because they saw that it is instead causing more chaos in their country. As we know, around 3,000 people were killed by the French military in Mali. All that period when France has been there, 3,000 citizens have been killed by the French military. And these things are not spoken about, and they are civilians. So the Malians decided that they have to sack France. They have to chase France out of their country. What do you think about his comments? Do you think they hold any water, that France, the only guarantee he can give us when he comes to the continent, that is going to give us more security?
Well, he's from the West. It's a threat. It's a threat. It's literally a threat. Guys, if you don't support us, you will be attacked by your own people. They will basically, remember, we spoke about this earlier, about who creates terrorists, who makes terrorists, who actually turns our crime. Every country has crime. We all have crime. Who actually ends up turning a criminal syndicate into a terrorist syndicate? It is, if you say that we don't need, like right now, if you say we don't need these security measures from France, and then we go on, we will find that terrorist elements will start rising in the country for no reason. Because right now, they will actually fund them. They will fund them more than just saying that, okay, we are withdrawing from the country. That is the security that they're offering. The fact that they want to bring military bases. No.
Yeah, actually, that is right what you are saying. When they chased them from Mali, they went to Niger and they have continued to disturb Mali, actually. That is why Mali decided to get the Wagner group from Russia to come and help them on the security issue.
Yeah, so you see, that kind of offer from the West is a threat. Less than being disingenuous, he is actually threatening our president, and not only the president. I mean, probably with the leaders that he actually discusses, he's being more frank and more direct. But with all of us, he's basically threatening us. as a people on the African continent, we hear that France is offering us security. And then when a leader goes against France and we start having terrorist attacks, we go back and say, you see, you should have went to France. And basically, our leaders get tired of that. Our leaders get tired of us as a people going back to them and criticizing them for standing up for us.
And the other thing which I see that is not congruent with his utterances or his offers, which is offering Africa after all these years of exploitation, when in fact he should be offering us reparations for the colonialism that they have been carrying out on the continent and exiting the continent.
We are still paying reparations to France, so that it's a problem.
Yes, they need to pay reparations to Haiti. Yeah, we are paying them, but they need to refund our money which we have been giving them. They need to pay reparations to Haiti. They need to pay reparations to the African countries for the slavery and exploitations. And so I don't see really anything that France can offer us as a people. Really, there's nothing which France can offer Africa because we have everything we need. We just need them to get out of the way. And if they don't get out of the way, I believe that we would remove them out of the way by force. Talking about that, I see that his offer are empty offers, like the recent Africa EU summit which happened. They offered some sums of money which were actually laughable. When we're having China Africa summit, they normally offer, $200 billion and stuff like that. And the EU, when we had, I think it was around the beginning of this year, the EU Africa Summit, they offered 5 billion euros. So I was like, how can the whole continent offer Africa 5 billion, around 5 billion euros or $5 billion? So I looked at this as almost laughable, like this is a joke. Even these offers, I believe they are not going to come. And so these are people I see that don't have money, but they are pretending that they have money, they have something to offer. But hidden behind this and these offers is their desire to continue exploiting Africa for their benefit, because their economies are contracting. The economies are contracting. You look at the figures which came out at the beginning of the year, the first quarter of the year. From January to March, you look at the economy of the United States contracted by 1.6. It reduced. That means the economy reduced. It did not grow. It grew in negative. So the economy reduced, and so the second quarter from April to June, the United States economy continued to contract. It contracted by 0.9. Those figures came out a few days ago. And these are countries which are going around. And this is not only the United States, even Europe. When you look at Europe, what is happening in Europe is the same thing. That economies are contracting. The economies are in distress. But these are countries who are going around and telling us they are offering aid. Which aid are they offering? Where are they getting the aid they are offering when their economies are in distress? You go to the United States areas like Detroit, California, people are on the streets, people are homeless. So what aid that are they giving that they cannot give their people in Chicago, Detroit, in California, where people are homeless? So for me, I see this as jingoism. Okay, jingoistic lies, which behind which is veiled the desire to continue to exploit the African continent. And the African people, we have to resist this. I think we have to resist this. We have to work with that, like we said, with those progressive African leaders to be able to counter these lies, because the West does not have the money which it is talking about that is going to, to offer us.
Well, the US spent what was it? Is it $1 trillion in Afghanistan?
I think it spent 2.5. I think 2.2.
It was like 300 million per day, like literally 300 million per day.
Yeah, altogether it was around 2 trillion. was more
All
than
that
three
money
trillion.
was simply being transferred upwards. The richest
Yes.
people were getting richer. I'm bringing this because we need to literally look as to what kind of what do you call it, offers are we getting from them. Like when they offer to have their own company come and build you a bridge, that's not really investing in your economy. And when you look at what happens with that, and you contrast it with what is happening in China, or what has happened in China ever since 1954, 53, after the war in China, from 64 coming upwards, there's that is that China has lifted more than 100 million people out of poverty.
Actually,
So
China, let me come in there a little bit. China actually has lifted more than 800 million people out of absolute poverty. It was able to eliminate absolute poverty in 2020. That is when China eliminated absolute poverty. At 2020 or 2021, it
yes.
eliminated absolute poverty.
So what we
So it
can
lifted more than China. China lifted more than 800 million people out of poverty,
yes.
more than
So
any other country in the all history of the
yeah,
world.
what I want to say is that globalization does not work for us. It doesn't. Globalization is a Western construct which is for exploitation. It does not work for us. We cannot compare our economies in a globalized world. We cannot. So I think on this case, I would recommend Vandana Shiva, the Indian lady. She actually speaks about real sovereignty, not bought sovereignty, not economic sovereignty, no, real sovereignty of having control over your food, over your water, over your air. That is real sovereignty. Like I think we broaden them to say that they are the aspect of peace, to have your water, your land. Yeah, so those are the actual sovereign resources that we need to have control over. We are not really overly invested, because it also there's a I think it's an internal conflict with the economy that we created and the sustainability of the earth as it is. Because we look at it now, and we want an economy which is forever growing. We want economy to forever be growing. And well, I guess it must go together with the population, because the population is growing. But then the sustainability, this globe is limited. I am pretty sure of one thing. Even if it can accommodate 100 billion people or a trillion people, there is a limit we will reach at some point. And that limit is fast coming with whatever we call development today, with whatever we call advancement today. That the sustainability of, we are basically selling off the sustainability of the world. So the question I want to ask us, and when we talk to that, or what are they offering us, are we looking at sustainability also? Are we opening the ground for them to exploit and leave it like the Niger Delta?
Yeah,
Are we?
I think that question goes to the economic system, the socio-economic system that is being operated and that is being pushed from the Western world, the neoliberal
Yes.
world, by the neoliberals, the capitalism, indiscriminate exploitation, endless growth, that is being promised people, even though it is not sustainable, because the earth has only limited amount of resources. So this idea that we can grow endlessly, is just laughable. Is just unscientific. You see, so that is the
Well,
problem. This capitalist system doesn't look at the world in that way. It looks at only endless growth, which cannot stop. So then, if you are talking about endless growth, then the resources have to be infinite. But this is contrary to to what is scientific, to science and nature, because the earth grows, only at a certain rate. Resources grow at a certain rate, and so we cannot grow endlessly. And so that is why this system has to be stopped. This capitalist system has to be stopped, and we have to find a way of stopping it so that we can live in a sustainable manner, whereby it is not only a few 10 people owning more than, half of humanity, owning, controlling resources, more than half of humanity. So this is where the unsustainability comes in. Only a few controlling majority of the resources while the others are starving. So I think this is where the problem comes in. I want to thank you, my brother, for jumping in today as a guest, and my partner in this analysis, which we have started going forward on a weekly basis. We are working with the PLO Lumumba Foundation on petitions, which we are saying that we are taking a step as Africans. These petitions are 3, and they have been endorsed by the PLO Lumumba Foundation. Dr. Edmond Folfath from the Ohio State University Medical Center, who is a world-renowned oncologist, Pan-African Daily TV, Sister Shanice, all of them, they have endorsed these petitions. These petitions are about unifying the continent. We are asking for the unified, and we are pushing and demanding for a unified African state, the stoppage of all wars on the continent, which call for the establishment of a single African military, like we have been speaking about, the war problems and different weak countries like France offering us help, which they don't have, that they are going to offer security. And the other thing is that we are also demanding for a single passport and a single, currency on the African continent. So these 3 petitions are down in the comment section. I would like all the viewers to go out there, watch this video, but at the same time, go out and sign these petitions, because we are working with all these great people. Every single effort that you put in, every little you do is important and counts. We are looking for 1 million people on these petitions, and then we will take the struggle on from there as people who are on the front line. Any last words, my brother Titi, before we close?
Yes, I want to close with sustainability because it's a critical issue. I think we might have seen that Elon Musk is very worried. It's like consumed with the idea that we need to leave this planet. We need to find another planet because it is all going to end at some point. So Jose Mujica, the former president of Uruguay,
Yeah,
he calls it superfluous consumption. We need on a personal level, on a human level, on an individual level, we need to stay away from superfluous consumption. Consumption for the fact of consuming, because well,
yes.
it's all going to end. And I know that we probably don't think that it will happen in our age. But then if we think for humanity as a whole, we need to stop superfluous consumption. We need to basically put a cap to capitalism. There are some things which are entirely not necessary. Gold-plated cars are not necessary. There are some things which are totally not necessary. No one needs them. They are not good for any 2 people. Maybe the one person who has the eat, and then we can all cheer. But then what are we cheering at? We are literally cheering at the end of humanity, the fast approaching end to humanity. Thank you very much for having me. Hopefully we can continue these conversations.
Oh, thank you very much, my brother. Until next week, the channel is called Africa Reimagined. Share the channel and let us congregate here as Africans. If you think that you are in any part of the continent, east, west, south, central, north, and you want to update us on what is happening in your region of the continent or around the world, if you're an African or people of African descent in South America, North America, anywhere, and you would want to participate in this channel, in this conversation on a weekly basis, on Sunday at 12 GMT, you are welcome. You can just send us a message and we'll respond to you so that you can participate in this. I want to thank you, my brother, once again. Until next time, let's meet again. Africa must unite.
Africa must unite.